There's a particular kind of silence you learn as a child, not the silence of an empty room, but the silence of a house where love was never spoken aloud. No bedtime stories about feelings. No, "I'm proud of you" after a hard day. No one asking, "How was school?" and actually waiting for the answer. You weren't hit. You weren't screamed at. You simply got nothing. And somewhere along the way, you started believing that nothing was normal. This is the quiet kind of wound, the kind nobody talks about, because there's no scar to point to, no bruise, no single incident you can name. Just an absence, and absence is so much harder to prove than pain. Most people assume emotional neglect means a child was abandoned or ignored outright. But psychology says something far more subtle. Emotional neglect often unfolds inside homes that look perfectly fine. Clean houses, decent grades, birthday parties, food on the table. From the outside, nothing is wrong. But inside, a child is starving for something they can't yet name. Attunement, the feeling of being truly seen by another person. Psychologists call this childhood emotional neglect, or CEN. And here's what makes it so insidious. It isn't what happened to you. It's what didn't. No one yelled at you for crying, so you don't remember being punished for emotion. You simply remember no one noticing when you stopped showing it. So the child adapts, quietly, invisibly. You learn to read a room before you speak in it. You learn that asking for help makes people uncomfortable, so you stop asking. You learn that your needs are inconvenient, so you shrink them until they're small enough to carry alone. And slowly, without anyone ever deciding it on purpose, you become a child who manages their own emotions because no one else will. There's nothing dramatic about it, and that's precisely why it goes unnoticed. There's no single moment to point to and say, "That's when it happened." It's 1,000 small moments of being technically cared for, yet emotionally unseen. Now let's examine what this does to you later, because the effects of growing up without emotional support don't vanish. They simply change shape. 1. You don't know what you're feeling. Only that you're feeling something, because no one ever asked, "What's going on for you right now?" You never built the vocabulary for your own inner world. You feel a heaviness and call it tired. You feel grief and call it fine. Emotion becomes a fog you live inside rather than information you can use. 2. You apologize for having needs before you've even stated them. "Sorry, this is probably silly, but I don't want to be a bother, but..." You've learned, deep in your nervous system, that needing something is the same as being a burden. So you pre-apologize. You shrink the request before anyone can reject it. 3. You're hyper-independent, and people call it impressive. You don't ask for help. You don't lean on anyone. You handle everything yourself, and the world praises you for being so capable, so low maintenance, so strong. But beneath that strength is a child who learned, long ago, that depending on someone only ends in disappointment. So you stopped depending on anyone, including eventually yourself. 4. You feel intensely guilty for resting. Productivity feels safe. Stillness feels dangerous. Because when you were small, being still meant being forgotten. Being busy, being helpful, being easy, that's what earned you any attention at all. So your nervous system learned, stillness equals invisibility, and invisibility equals being unloved. 5. You struggle to know what you actually want. Not what's practical, not what makes sense. What you want. Because your wants were never asked about as a child, you never practiced identifying them. You became fluent in everyone else's desires, and a stranger to your own. 6. Compliments feel unbearable. Someone says something kind, and your entire body wants to deflect it. "Oh, it was nothing. I just got lucky." Because being truly seen was never safe growing up. Attention without warmth felt like exposure. So even now, kindness can trigger the same old alarm. Don't let them look too closely. 7. You feel emotionally exhausted in relationships that should feel easy. You're constantly managing the other person, anticipating their moods, adjusting yourself to diffuse conflict before it starts. You call it being considerate. A therapist would call it hypervigilance. A nervous system that never learned what safety and connection actually feels like. 8. You feel like a stranger to your own childhood. When others share warm memories of being held or celebrated, you search your own memory and come up empty, not because nothing happened, but because nothing emotional happened. That absence breeds a quiet, peculiar grief, mourning something you can't even picture. Here's what makes this wound so cruel. There's no villain to point to, no single cause, no shattered hoe.